Amazing encounter, a poignant girl, 12, reveals her dying mother's last wish to a billionaire CEO. Emily stood backstage, the hum of the audience echoing in her ears, grappling with an urgency that twisted her stomach into knots. Her heart raced, pulsating against the uncertainty of the moment. All she could think about was the handwritten note clenched in her fist, the last wish of her mother, who lay in that sterile hospital room, fading like the evening light. The thought of this stage felt too enormous yet painfully small, a spotlight illuminating the gaping void that would never be filled. Taking in deep breaths, she slid the crumpled paper against her palm. The desire to honor her mother's commitment to education for underprivileged children pulsed through her veins, aligning her resolve but tinged with fear. What if Jack Morrison, the billionaire who basked in the luxury of endless possibilities, dismissed her as just another kid with a dream? Would he even understand? For a brief moment, doubt crept in, whispering that she might disappear, her emotions evaporating into the bright, cold spotlight. With her knees trembling beneath the weight of her anxiety, Emily took a step forward, her small frame dwarfed by the stage and audience. "I'm here for my mother," she began, surprised at how the words only wavered slightly. "She was a teacher to all of us." The crowd hushed, and Emily felt their attention shift. She pierced through the initial shock, locking eyes with souls that perhaps understood her anguish. But under the weight of their scrutiny, her mind spiraled. This wasn't merely about speaking her truth, it was about bearing her grief and longing to a stranger who lived in a world of privilege dominated by power and profit. The very notion of sharing her mother's wish felt like channeling vulnerability into a void destined to silence her. She pushed on, trying to weave heart and coherence into a plea that emerged from the core of her being. "Mom wanted to create scholarships to keep dreams alive for those who struggle," she continued, an intense flush creeping up her neck. What did she know of the elaborate financial machinations and corporate coldness standing in her way? The stakes escalated as she dissected visions she spoke into existence, leaving her exposed and trembling. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jack Morrison leaned against the edge of his chair, his brow knit with a man's perplexity at a child's plea, a stirring of responsibility intertwining with fear. She was making him confront questions he had buried under layers of success and ambition. His company thrived on profits, yet here was this girl, fragile yet fierce, defying the prioritization of dollar signs. How could he listen to her heart without feeling the tug of actualizing her dream? As Emily stepped down, a swirling storm of hope and dread gripped her. The weight of time pressed against her chest that veered between desperation and determination. Each moment was precious yet agonizing, her mother's life fading alongside the urgency of the wish she held so dear. What if tomorrow brought nothing but silence? What if this was the end of everything? Jack returned to his office, waves of emotion crashing against his resolve. A decision loomed, whispering secrets of legacy and disconnection from the values of his past, while Emily held on to flickers of hope against the gathering darkness of despair. As he watched the clock tick relentlessly, he clutched the manual of his life that seemed to be tearing apart at the seams, memories of his own father echoing in his mind. Time was running out. Would he choose the refuge of greed or face a path of redemption for a girl who had stolen his heart? In that vital moment, neither of them could see the end, only the weight of possibilities sliding just out of reach. The following morning dawned uncertainly. Emily could barely keep her eyes open, exhaustion from her emotional outburst colliding with the weight of unfulfilled dreams. The world felt muted, as if sound had been turned down. She sat on the edge of her bed, crumpled note in hand, trying to extract motivation from the image of her mother's smile, a beam of light she desperately clung to amidst the pain. The added pressure to reach Jack Morrison weighed heavily on her mind. Would he follow through on their exchange, or would yesterday's fervor dissolve into the ether of corporate indifference? The only thing clearer than her anxiety was a burgeoning sense of purpose. She nodded to herself, drawing strength from the memory of her mother's unwavering spirit, and resolved to take action. With renewed determination, Emily returned to her makeshift workspace, a corner table strewn with colorful art supplies and paper. She grabbed a piece of cardstock and set about creating a presentation that captured her mother's vision. Ideas flowed with fervor, drawings of children reading, classrooms filled with laughter, and the notes of dreams unfolded like flowers. This wasn't just a project, it was a promise she intended to fulfill. As the hours melted away, each stroke of color infused more clarity into her aspirations. She envisioned scholarships that could extend far beyond mere tuition. They would symbolize access, opportunity, hope, the very embodiment of her mother's legacy. The weight of the world felt a little lighter with each drawing, while shadows of doubt still loomed as whispers in the background. Meanwhile, in the sleek confines of his executive office, Jack Morrison grappled with a restless spirit of his own. He peered through the transparent walls of his corporate fortress, searching for an answer to a question he neither wanted to admit nor forget: what truly mattered? Turning back to his desk, he picked up the note Emily had delivered, a simple fragment that felt like a breakthrough. While the walls around him shimmered with success, they also pressed in with expectations. He found himself reflecting deeply on the legacy he wished to leave behind. Was it simply a matter of wealth accumulation, or could it be something more significant, an investment in people, in possibility? He had been raised to believe in cold strategies and profit margins, yet here was this child, igniting a furnace of emotion driven by memory and love. The intensity of her plea gnawed at him. What if he failed to act? What if the memory of this encounter faded like a whispered story? He contemplated the robust structures he'd built within his company and how they had insulated him. Something within began to shift, an awakening to what he could offer, or perhaps reinstate a commitment to contribute to something larger than himself. Emily shifted back to her sketches, consumed in thought. What would happen if she sent the presentation to him directly? The idea sparked a flicker of panic. Would he even look at it? But she needed to try. She filled her brain with possibilities. If she could imagine it, she could achieve it. Each page was imbued with her hope, a manifestation of renewed strength. With courage ignited, she reached for her phone and typed a simple message, her heart pulsating with trepidation and excitement. Dear Mr. Morrison, I have something I'd like to share with you. It's important. Her fingers hovered above the send button, doubts swirling in her mind. But then, with a deep breath, she pressed it. As the notification disappeared into the void, Emily stepped back, overcoming a fear that had threatened to tether her to doubt. Jack, engrossed in grappling with his own insecurities, felt a sudden alert pop up on his screen, a message from a little girl who had thrust his own legacy into question. Would he dare take this chance, or let it pass like so many moments before? Jack stared at the phone, the tremor of choice reverberating through him. The moment had arrived for him to face the legacy he had constructed block by block. Would he rebuild? Or remain fortified in his tower? The opportunity for redemption gleamed just beyond his grasp, leaving him in the thrall of unanswered possibilities. In the days that followed, Emily's anticipation simmered in the background of her daily routine like water approaching a boil. The moment she pressed send on that fateful message felt both liberating and terrifying. Each passing minute felt like a lifetime as she replayed the scene in her mind. Would Jack Morrison understand her vision? Would he recognize the promise she was trying to fulfill? She balanced schoolwork, family obligations, and her burgeoning design project, yet a palpable sense of urgency motivated her. The presentations bloomed on her table like vibrant wildflowers. She was close to finishing, but a nagging fear lingered in the corners of her mind. What if he didn't respond? Uncertainty clawed at her resolve. Turning her focus back to her sketches, she immersed herself deeper into the artwork. Pencil strokes gave life to the aspirations she held: self-portraits of children dressed as successful adults, visions of classrooms recognizing every child's story. Each piece radiated pride, a testimony to a mother's dream that she could not let fade. One evening, after an illuminating session of drawing, her phone dinged. Emily's heart raced as she eagerly grabbed it. The notification was from a friend, not Jack. Disappointment trickled in, heavy against her determination. But instead of succumbing to despair, she channeled her emotions into art, sketching fiercely in the dim light of her room. Days morphed into a week, and one afternoon, while at the community center volunteering, Emily caught sight of a group of children. They were engaged in activities, their laughter blending with lively chatter. A warmth radiated from their earnest joy. At that moment, she realized her purpose was clear: to ensure that laughter, learning, and togetherness would never officially end for them. As she watched from a corner, she recognized that doubt had tried to blind her to her intrinsic value. These children, imparting hope, fueled a burgeoning fire within her. She possessed the capacity to be an architect of dreams, a bridge for opportunities. They were not merely sketches on a page but lives she hoped to uplift. The next day, Emily took a deep breath and made a bold decision. She would hand-deliver her bound sketches to Jack Morrison's office. She stuffed the carefully arranged pages into an oversized envelope, the weight of her dream resting in her small hands. This would be her gesture of faith, a tangible piece of her mother's legacy. Outside the corporate building, anxiety began to wrap itself around her. She stood at the entrance, eyeing the polished facade and the bustling employees moving like clockwork. Was she truly ready to confront this? Her legs felt heavy, her heart pulsed wildly. She envisioned her mother's smile, the pride in her eyes. That flickering encouragement spurred her to step forward. Inside, the receptionist met her with raised eyebrows, impressed by the young girl standing steadfast with determination. The delivery process felt intimidating, but she took a steadying breath, summoning her courage to share her vision. Minutes stretched into an eternity as she sat in a small waiting area, clutching her envelope like a life preserver. Finally, she was escorted to Jack's office. The imposing figure of a man she had only seen through media appeared even larger in person. But something in his expression shifted as she spoke. Her voice faltered, but the essence of her message sparked in the air between them. He listened intently, eyes narrowing into focus, weighing each word like currency. "Mr. Morrison, this is about more than just funding. It's about lives, dreams, real stories," she implored, the confidence she often wrestled with firming within her. Jack watched her, wrestling with an inner turmoil of his own. The weight of his inaction before felt like crushing regret against the burgeoning commitment he saw in this young girl. Could he transform his legacy into something more than profits? This encounter felt like a crossroads. Emily's voice filled the charged silence. "I believe it's possible to change lives. My mother believed in that." She stood boldly, every word solidifying her intention. Little did she know, Jack felt the very echoes of her struggle resonating within his own concept of success. Would he embrace this chance, challenge his ingrained notions of power, and allow possibility to reshape his destiny? In that pivotal moment, both were poised to confront their innermost dilemmas: the child seeking to honor her mother's dreams and the executive faced with the opportunity to forge a more enriching legacy. The air thickened with unspoken choices, hinting at the extraordinary possibilities that lingered just at the edges of their understanding. Would they take the leap together, or would fear keep them from an extraordinary transformation? Emily stood frozen in Jack's office, the envelope clutched tightly in her hands, her heart pounding a rhythm of doubt and hope. His silence was deafening, swirling her internal monologue with uncertainty. Did he truly grasp the weight of her message? Or had she entered this realm of suits and power only to be dismissed, another insignificant voice lost amidst the chaos of corporate ambition? As the seconds dragged on, she watched him closely. Jack's expression flickered through a spectrum of emotions: curiosity, perhaps a hint of skepticism, followed by what appeared to be realization. She had come prepared to defend her vision, to articulate every intricate detail behind her sketches, yet now, she grappled with a nagging sense of vulnerability. This was her mother's dream manifest, not just a portfolio of images. "Why do you believe in this so deeply?" he finally asked, his voice steady yet probing, as though he was attempting to unearth the roots of her passion. Emily inhaled sharply, her spirit igniting in defense of the hope she carried. "Because it's not just about making a project. It's about making a difference." She found herself leaning forward, compelled by an urgency that surged through her. "These children have stories that deserve to be told. My mother always wished that children could see themselves as who they can become, not just as caricatures of their circumstances, but as real people capable of real achievements." Jack sat back, processing her words. The room was charged with the weight of her conviction, and Emily felt them, her dreams, her purpose congealing into something tangible. She had come here to propose a partnership, yet she realized now that they were both searching for affirmation, she to confirm her belief in her project, and he to reassess his path in business. "I've spent years building an empire, Emily," he began, his voice softer now. "But sometimes, I wonder if I've done it at the expense of what truly matters." His admission reverberated within her, igniting a flicker of hope. Was there an opportunity here, not just for her vision, but for him as well? A collaboration might mean they could challenge the status quo together, turning profit into purpose. "Sir," she ventured, "what if your empire could support something real? Something that leaves a lasting legacy beyond profit margins? I can show you how this can reshape lives." The emphasis on collaboration shifted the conversation, and Jack regarded her with renewed intensity. For the first time, he leaned forward as though drawn in by the energy of her passion. "Tell me more," he urged, the storm in his eyes revealing an untapped hunger for something deeply meaningful. Emily's excitement surged, she sensed the next step unfolding before her. She began discussing specific ideas about community involvement and how they could leverage local artists and educators to bring her vision to fruition. Each word rolled off her tongue, fueled by passion and a fragile confidence nurtured by months of preparation. As they brainstormed ways to merge Jack's resources with her vision, time slipped away. The mounting possibilities evoked both a thrill and fear. What if their collaboration could actually change the paradigm? Yet a shadow loomed of fear that Jack might only be intrigued temporarily. The facade of the corporate world still felt invasive and daunting, and she wondered, was his interest genuine, or would it extinguish like a flickering candle amidst a windstorm? As they reached a tentative outline for the next steps, Jack's expression shifted, a flicker of determination sparking within him. "I want to help you, Emily. But I need to be considerate of stakeholders, too. There are many voices to navigate in my world." Her stomach tightened at the reminder of potential obstacles, yet her resolve cemented. Navigating those voices is crucial, but this could be a way to show them the power of impact. Would he truly confront the complexities of his world or retreat into conventional expectations? The tension of the moment bore down on them both, Emily realized. That their potential partnership hinged on trust, a willingness to embrace risk, and the hope to illuminate the paths of their lives, together. But as the exhilaration around possibility waned, another layer of the challenge emerged. Would vulnerability serve as a bridge, or a barrier? The gravity of their next conversation loomed ahead. Would she be ready to navigate the corporate complexities that awaited them? A well of doubt threatened to drag her back. Could she maintain her drive amidst the overwhelming stakes at play? The moment of truth beckoned, and an urgent realization settled within her. This was not just an opportunity for her mother's legacy, but also a critical juncture for Jack. Would he redefine success, alongside her? The air throbbed with uncertainty as they prepared to discuss what lay ahead, a conversation that might reshape not just their futures but the futures of countless others. Would they seize the moment and embrace the risk of transformation? Emily sat in the hushed contours of Jack's office, the weight of their conversation swirling around her like a palpable fog. The air felt electric with possibilities, yet the flicker of doubt nagged at the edges of her resolve. Could they truly align their aspirations amidst the cacophony that her project would inevitably stir in Jack's corporate landscape? Jack shifted in his seat, his brows knitted as he considered her proposition. "You understand, Emily," he said slowly, "the corporate world thrives on measurable outcomes and profit margins. Idealism is a luxury it rarely affords." As his words sunk in, Emily felt an inner quake. She had been ready to challenge convention, but was she equipped to navigate those rigid structures? Her hands trembled slightly as she placed them on the table, grounding herself. "What if your enterprise became an exception?" she challenged, her voice steadying as confidence layered over her insecurities. "We could redefine what success looks like, a synthesis of profitability and purpose." Jack regarded her with a blend of skepticism and intrigue, the storm clouds of corporate caution battling against the clarity of her vision. "You speak of a legacy and impact, but stakeholders will want to see figures, goals, something tangible. They won't buy into hope without a strong return on investment." His counterpoint shrouded her in shadow for a moment, but recall of her mother's fervent belief in the power of vision sparked a defiant ember within her. "Then let us create those figures," she asserted softly but firmly. "Let us build a framework where profits directly relate to the lives we transform. I have ideas, concepts for community projects that not only empower children but also tell their stories in a way that resonates." There it was, a shift in the atmosphere. Jack uncrossed his arms, leaning slightly forward, the skepticism replaced by curiosity. "Go on. Tell me how you envision this framework." As she described interactive workshops involving local artists, mentorship programs bridging the gap between aspiration and achievement, Emily felt the rhythm of her thoughts gain momentum. The more she spoke, the clearer her purpose became, not merely sharing her mother's dream, but igniting it. She explored ways to track impact through emotional resonance as well as quantifiable achievements, knowing that combining these elements might offer Jack the bridge he needed to sell to his stakeholders. "I'm not just asking for funding or partnership, I'm asking you to join in a movement," she continued, her voice gaining strength. "Business can change lives, yours, mine, theirs. Together, we can shift paradigms." The room pulsed with tension as silence followed her words, a silence filled with contemplation on Jack's part. "It's a bold gamble," he finally mused, weighing her vision against the risks painted by years of entrenched corporate culture. "If I were to commit, how could we ensure this idea gains traction among my board?" Emily leaned back, her heart racing anew. This was a pivotal moment not just for them as collaborators, but for Jack as a leader who had the potential to break the mold. "Let us demonstrate this impact through pilot projects. We can showcase real outcomes. If stakeholders see lives changing, I believe they'll earnestly consider a lasting commitment." Jack studied her intently, the contours of his expression suggesting a man grappling with an internal battle, his instinct for security conflicting with Emily's daring vision. The tension clenched her stomach, she sensed the decision forming, yet it felt electric with uncertainty. "All right," he exhaled, visibly shifting into a decision-making mode. "What I need from you is a solid plan, an outline with measurable goals. We'll present it to my board next week. If they get on board, we'll begin small, test the waters." A pulse of adrenaline surged through Emily. The dialogue ahead was about to become more than just talk, the possibility of action loomed. Yet, beneath her burgeoning excitement lay an undercurrent of fear. Could they really navigate the labyrinth of corporate scrutiny that awaited? "Jack, I appreciate your willingness to consider this," she replied, masking her uncertainty with earnestness. "But we must guard against complacency. I'm committed to pushing this forward, I just hope you're ready for what's to come." As she left the office, her heart raced with newfound hope mingled with trepidation. The next few days could bring about her dream or collapse her aspirations entirely. Would they stand united against the skepticism that surrounded them? The challenge that awaited felt mountainous, but this glimpse of potential ignited a flame within her. The next steps loomed on the horizon, no longer theoretical but immediate and demanding. Emily had to summon every ounce of her resolve. After all, the trajectory of their journey might hinge on how firmly she could grasp the reins of opportunity. Would she rise to the challenge and lead them both into transformative waters, or would fear dictate her path ahead? Emily bolted awake the morning after her meeting, her heart pounding in sync with the rapid flurry of thoughts swirling through her mind. The sunlight streamed through her window, illuminating the remnants of her restless night. With a groan, she swung her legs over the side of the bed, her mind still lingering on the responsibilities that awaited her. The outline she needed to present was more than just a plan, it was a lifeline for her vision. Determined, she headed to her small kitchen and brewed a pot of coffee. As the aroma enveloped her, she tried to channel the nervous energy into clarity. Each sip ignited a spark. She began jotting down notes on a notepad, words tumbling out like an impulsive waterfall. She envisioned her mother's warm smile, urging her to follow her heart, to seize the chance to make a difference. Ideas flowed, and soon her optimism transformed into a structured outline. Her approach sought to combine emotional narratives with practical metrics. Each aspect aligned toward proving Jack's skepticism wrong and showcasing the potential profits linked with true impact. Yet, doubt crept in her mind like a stealthy shadow. Would Jack's board receive her concepts with the same fervor, or would they dismiss her efforts altogether? The hours ticked by, and soon Emily drowned in the details. She meticulously crafted sections on goals, potential partnerships, anticipated obstacles, and how to measure success both emotionally and financially. It wasn't just numbers, she wanted to echo the lives behind them, stories that would resonate deeply. Suddenly, a sharp ping interrupted her concentration. It was a text from Jack, a sudden jolt of adrenaline sending her pulse racing. Let us meet tomorrow to discuss the outline. Be prepared, my team has questions. A twist of anxiety churned in her stomach, anticipation mixed with apprehension. This was her moment to shine or collapse in defeat. She fought the urge to retreat into her shell. They were connected by a shared belief in the unusual, that hope could intersect with profitability. She couldn't afford to falter now. Prepare, she muttered to herself, drawing strength from the hardened resolve that had emerged during her brainstorming. As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, she continued refining her outline, becoming acutely aware that every detail counted. In this moment, Emily was no longer just a dreamer, she was a doer, actively sculpting her future. The night before her meeting was riddled with both exhilaration and fear. She barely slept as apprehension clawed at the edges of her consciousness. What if her vision failed to inspire the board? With impending sleeplessness, she had to confront that lingering doubt head-on. Instead of hiding from the uncertainty, she confronted it like an adversary she needed to face. In the flickering light of dawn, she finally succumbed to exhaustion, but something within her shifted as exhaustion laced her thoughts. She had embarked on a path she could no longer step back from. Failure was now an unknown companion on this radical journey she had chosen to undertake. The next day felt surreal, like a crucial stepping stone that had the power to redirect her entire trajectory. Emily arrived at Jack's office, her heart pounding, her prepared outline clutched tightly in her hands. The boardroom felt alien and overwhelming, yet amidst this tangle of emotions lay an ember of determination. As Jack ushered her into the room, instincts sharpened. The tension in the air hung thick as she faced the stern expressions of the board members. She would either deliver a vision that could break through the corporate facade or be just another voice drowned out in calculated budgets and risks. "Thank you all for coming," Emily began, her voice steadier than she anticipated. Something inside her stirred. "Today, I want to share a vision that could redefine not just our corporate identity, but the very fabric of success itself." Before she could second-guess herself, she took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to confront whatever came next. Would these powerful figures embrace her radical ideas, or would she feel the sting of their rejection? For Emily, this was no longer just a pitch, it was a supplication for understanding. And as she spoke, a realization flickered in her mind: she was more than a mere candidate presenting ideas. She was becoming the catalyst for a transformative shift, wrestling with impending challenges yet determined to remain unfaltering in her mission. However, just what type of resistance awaited her now became her next concern. The pivotal moment that could change everything hinged on the reactions she would soon face. Emily's voice resonated through the boardroom, each word carefully articulated as she navigated her narrative. The gravity of their gazes settled heavily upon her, encasing her in a cocoon of uncertainty mixed with defiance. She sensed resistance in the room, the tension palpable as if each member of the board was preparing to dissect her every assertion. Igniting the flames of her resolve, she continued, striving to transform her vision into tangible edifices that could break their skepticism. Imagine not just profit margins but real impact, tangible proof that our business goals can align with societal benefit, she articulated, feeling her heart chime with the rhythm of her passion. But even as she reaffirmed her stance, doubt lurked in the recesses of her consciousness, taunting her with the specter of failure. Was her vision sufficient to erode the indifference of seasoned executives, many of whom had likely grown comfortable with the status quo? As Emily concluded her presentation, she felt raw and exposed, like a painter revealing a canvas fraught with imperfections. The board members exchanged glances, their expressions inscrutable. A heavy silence rooted her to the spot. She longed for some sign, any flicker of reassurance that her fervent plea had resonated. Jack cleared his throat, breaking the stillness. "Thank you, Emily. We'll take a few minutes to discuss," he said, and the gravity of the moment hit her like a wave crashing against a cliff. As they huddled together, the distance felt insurmountable, a chasm between hope and impending rejection. In the shadows of that moment, an unfamiliar clarity washed over her. Emily recognized this feeling. It was the realization that her efforts were not merely for a transactional goal. They represented a deeper awakening, her personal commitment to challenging existing paradigms, an unwavering pursuit to merge heart with business expertise. Time seemed to stretch as they deliberated, and her wristwatch became a cruel reminder of every heartbeat, every second that passed weighed down with uncertainty. She began to question her approach, replaying each statement in her mind, pondering if her passion had been compelling enough. Suddenly, one board member, a wiry man she recognized from previous meetings, faced her. "Emily, while your ideas are fresh and certainly intriguing, they tread in uncertain waters. A lot hinges on willingness. Are you prepared to accept that not everyone shares your vision?" His words cut, exposing the raw nerve of doubt that lay beneath her meticulously crafted outline. Emily took a breath, feeling the weight of his challenge settle like an anchor. Yet something shifted within her. This was not merely a matter of acceptance but a confrontation of belief. "If we only pursue what is commercially safe, we are damning ourselves to mediocrity," she replied, her tone unwavering. "What I propose requires purpose. It's not just about resistance, it's about reimagining what success looks like." The room thickened with intensity, Emily's heart gaining strength from pushing back against doubt, her own and that of the board. She was no longer the timid candidate grasping for approval, she was a woman unfolding her vision, choosing to confront adversities head-on. As discussions continued around her, a flicker of curiosity ignited among the board members, quickly morphing into something resembling intrigue. They began engaging with her ideas rather than belittling them. Momentum started to shift as questions emerged more pointedly. Yet, lurking in the back of her mind was the nagging realization that despite this momentary connection, there were deeper layers of skepticism that might yet unfurl. The meeting wound down, and as Emily packed her documents, uncertainty loomed once again. Their reactions had been a blend of curiosity and tempered judgment, but Emily sensed they remained unconvinced. Jack re-entered the room, a contemplative look on his face. "You've certainly sparked discussion, but there are still reservations," he admitted curtly. "We need more concrete proof. Beyond ideals. We need a strategic plan that shows us how to implement this without losing our current core values." Suddenly, it hit her. This was not merely a rejection but a challenge, a call to dig deeper into herself and forge a path that included robust strategies interwoven with her values. Emily felt the burgeoning realization that her journey was barely beginning. It would require more than emotional narratives, it necessitated a fusion of her creative spirit with the practical acumen she had yet to tap fully. With a breath that felt like a step forward, she replied, "I understand. I'll refine my proposal. You'll see that purpose and profit can coexist, and when they do, they create something truly powerful." As she exited the boardroom, a fresh resolve coursed through her veins. Yet a new question loomed larger: what would it take to transform the compelling vision in her heart into a strategic blueprint that the board could embrace? Emily couldn't help but feel the weight of that impending challenge settle over her, daring her to evolve further than she had ever anticipated. As Emily walked down the long, sterile corridor of the office, her mind thrummed with possibilities. Each footfall echoed her determination to craft a plan that would honor her vision while addressing the board's concerns. She could feel the weight of their skepticism pressing against her like an invisible wall. Yet, an ember of hope ignited within her. She was not defeated, she was merely at the threshold of a new beginning. Back at her workstation, Emily sank into her chair, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She glanced at the proposal she had originally drafted. It felt inadequate now, like a flimsy veil failing to mask its fragile foundations. The excitement that had once surged through her during the brainstorming sessions was overshadowed by tangible fear of failing to bridge the two worlds she envisioned, the idealistic and the pragmatic. Tracking her thoughts, she pulled inspiration from those moments in the boardroom where curiosity had begun to flicker. If she could transform that budding interest into a roadmap, surely, the vision could become reality. She started by crafting an outline that would interweave her ideals with concrete strategies. She realized she had to embrace her unique blend of creativity while also grounding her ambitions in the company's existing framework. Emily's first move was to analyze the data she had been gathering. What are the core values embedded within the company? How can her objectives align with them? What resources would she need to build her case? The realization hit her: this project was not merely a one-and-done presentation, it was a journey she needed to share. Every statistic, every potential partnership, every success story she could gather would act as the framework for her ambitions. Time flew as she pieced together key components, layering her vision with market research data, potential impact assessments, and case studies. As the hours trickled by, she felt the familiar thrill of creating something anew, an echo of the passion that had once animated her presentation. Her previous hesitance began to dissolve, replaced by a newfound confidence that resonated throughout her work. Despite the intensity of her focus, moments of doubt occasionally flared. Was she being overly ambitious in assuming she could transform corporate attitudes? The thought forced her to pause and confront a deeper question: was her commitment to this cause strong enough to sustain her through the inevitable pushback? The weight of these worries culminated in a tight knot in her stomach. Then an unexpected memory flickered to life: the last conversation she had with her mother. "Always remember to value both heart and mind, Emily," her mother had told her, a gentle smile gracing her face, even amid sickness. "They are your greatest allies." The memory drew a resolve from deep within her. Her mother's wisdom would guide her through this labyrinthine journey. She would refuse to sacrifice her ideals for acceptance. With her heart pounding in her chest and an outline enriched with substantive details before her, Emily began formulating the next segment of her proposal. It was almost tangible now: the integration of purpose and profit. She would emphasize sustainability practices and social responsibility, not simply concepts, but actionable strategies that would resonate with stakeholders and attract investment. Just as she finalized a crucial point about potential partnerships with nonprofit organizations that mirrored her vision, Jack's familiar silhouette appeared in her doorway. She hadn't noticed the time passing, but the clock reminded her it was almost midnight. "You're still here?" he asked, surprising her. "You don't look as exhausted as I thought you would be after the meeting today." Emily smiled, a flicker of pride bubbling up. "I'm refining the proposal based on the feedback I received. I believe I can create something that aligns with our core values while also pushing for innovation." Jack nodded, his expression shifting as he stepped closer to her desk. "I'll admit, I was skeptical at first. But if you're serious about this approach, then perhaps we could collaborate on presenting it. Two voices would resonate more powerfully than one. A jolt of excitement coursed through her. The opportunity to work with Jack felt like a pivotal shift in her journey, solidifying her belief in this mission and igniting a new partnership that could further her cause in unexpected ways. But Emily knew this was just the beginning. To turn their combined efforts into real traction, they would need to challenge each other's perspectives and approach the initiative with unwavering tenacity. What were the risks, and more importantly, how much was she willing to invest not just in the idea, but in her evolving self? The realization left her breathless. The prospect of deepening her understanding while also navigating potential conflicts weighed heavily on her. As Jack began discussing ideas, she felt her heart race with anticipation, both thrilled by the collaboration and aware of the challenges that would undoubtedly come with it. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainties, yet she couldn't ignore the stirring excitement within her. What heights could they reach together? What sacrifices would be necessary to craft something fully transformative? Emily leaned in, ready to engage, unsure but determined, her path illuminated by the fire of her convictions. Yet the underlying question lingered ominously: could she maintain her integrity while pursuing this ambitious path, or would she be forced to compromise, revealing the darker specters of ambition lurking just beneath the surface? The glow of her computer screen illuminated Emily's face, and as Jack's words settled in, she felt the daunting weight of collaboration morph into hopeful anticipation. Though their conversation had initiated a sense of partnership, the complexities of merging two visions loomed ominously above her. This was not just about combining approaches, it would challenge her understanding of trust, authority, and the fineness of compromise. Jack initiated discussions about what their cohesive approach might look like, ideas colliding and intertwining like strands of a vibrant tapestry. Emily listened intently, her mind racing through potential outcomes. But an edge of wariness crept in. How would she balance bringing her ambitious vision to life while accommodating Jack's insights? As their brainstorming session deepened, Emily felt excitement flicker and dim like a faulty light bulb. Could Jack's experience counterbalance her youthful idealism, or would he dilute her voice in the process? These thoughts skated uncomfortably across her consciousness. Every so often, she caught herself questioning her capabilities as a leader. She couldn't help but weigh the inherent risks against the potential for innovation. Emily? Jack's voice broke through her reverie. What do you think about pushing our pitch towards more aggressive sustainability goals? I know we can secure partners who resonate with that vision. The optimism in his suggestion countered her hesitation. It stirred something powerful within her. Could this be the juncture where passion truly met practicality? She allowed her conviction to surface. If we strategize around aggressive goals but maintain our authenticity, we'll not only be leading but inspiring. We need to show them that sustainability isn't just a label, it's embedded in our ethos. Jack's eyebrows raised slightly, impressed. I like it. That could be our central theme: the authenticity of purpose behind our objectives. A buoyant energy surged through Emily as they exchanged ideas. Yet, lurking beneath her exhilaration was the pressing question of whether their collaboration would be fraught with conflict. Previous co-workers had attempted to undermine her initiatives. She had learned the hard way that misalignment could derail even the most spirited efforts. Would her synergy with Jack withstand the inevitable friction brought on by differing perspectives? Silencing her doubts, Emily guided their conversation to practical implementation. They mapped out timelines, tapped into market insights, and identified potential stakeholders. Each step was exhilarating yet agonizing. As they moved toward an innovative pitch, Emily's internal dialogue churned. Her instincts told her that vulnerability could be both her greatest asset and her most dangerous liability. Would exposing her passion reveal a competitive edge or leave her vulnerable to ridicule? Just as she began to voice a concern about timing, how quickly they could present their reinforced proposal, her phone buzzed aggressively on her desk. A message from her mentor, Sarah, lit up the screen. Remember, vulnerability is a strength. Lean into it. What if Sarah was right? The notion sparkled in her mind and compelled Emily to reconsider her approach. Perhaps the essence of her original vision, infused with personal stories and authentic connections, could blend seamlessly with Jack's technical expertise, creating a narrative that was both compelling and emotionally resonant. As Emily opened her mouth to convey her renewed resolve, the door swung open with force. The sudden interruption sliced through their intense concentration, and in walked Ron, the company's COO, known for his no-nonsense demeanor. "I need to talk to you too," he said, glancing pointedly between them. "This venture needs to be watertight. Have you prepared for potential challenges?" Jack shot Emily a quick look, his surprise palpable. It felt like the air thickened, turning buoyancy into anxiety. This wasn't just a discussion about ideas anymore, it had the potential to toss them into an arena rife with corporate politics. What obstacles lay ahead? Were they truly prepared to face Ron's interrogation of their approach? As Ron's questioning gaze bored into her, Emily found her spine stiffening. It dawned on her that this was not merely a test of their proposal, it was a trial of her commitment to chase that vibrant blend of ambition and integrity. The road unfolded further before her, not simply as a path strewn with flowers, but as a complex labyrinth demanding she confront the very nature of her convictions and the authenticity of her desires. Could she rise above this moment and advocate fiercely for her ideas, regardless of the fallout? While the answers remained ambiguous, one truth crystallized: failure was not an option. With the tension mounting, Emily squared her shoulders, feeling both vulnerable and powerful. The moment had arrived for her to confront not just Ron, but herself as she sought to define her purpose in the heart of this turbulent storm. Would she find her voice in the thick of adversity, or risk being silenced by fear? The battle was only beginning. Emily stepped into the boardroom again, surrounded by the gleaming faces of Jack, Ron, and the rest of the executive team. She was no longer the timid child clutching a dream, but a focused young woman armed with a strategic outline and an unwavering belief in the power of education. As she took a deep breath and glanced at her notes, the faint echo of her mother's encouraging voice played in her mind: "Always remember, Emily, the depth of your vision defines your impact." "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady and clear, weaving through the palpable tension like a thread connecting assertiveness and vulnerability. "Today, I'm not just asking for support, I'm proposing a partnership that aligns financial goals with a purpose that will resonate beyond mere numbers." She showcased her revised outline, rich with research and compelling narratives. Each segment of her presentation had evolved from its original form, infused with the lessons learned during her previous encounters with the board. Emily had meticulously formulated data-driven projections along with emotional narratives, tracing how investments in education could yield both financial returns and transformative community impacts. As she spoke, her confidence blossomed. She could see Jack nodding in agreement, and Ron's stern expression began to soften, a flicker of curiosity igniting underneath his cautious demeanor. Emily pressed on with fervor, her passion like sunlight piercing through dark clouds. "We have a chance to redefine success not merely through profit but through legacy. Imagine the headlines: a billion-dollar corporation investing in the future. We become architects of not just profit but progress." A palpable shift occurred in the room as her words wove together aspiration and pragmatism. Emily could feel their skepticism beginning to quiet, replaced by an earnest intrigue. "I propose a multi-tiered approach. We can initiate pilot projects within the community, measure their impacts, and communicate the results transparently to our stakeholders. By showing real outcomes, we can create a narrative that resonates with them, one they can take to heart." Ron leaned forward, a hint of approval lacing his features. "It sounds ambitious, Emily, but how do you intend to overcome resistance from those who prioritize risk management?" The question hung in the air like an impending storm, but Emily felt prepared. "By framing our initiative as a calculated risk and opportunity to lead a cultural shift. If we can cultivate a narrative combining heart with data, we can challenge perceptions and unleash the potential that lies in marginalized communities." Jack chimed in, backing her up with an enthusiasm that had been absent before. Emily's right. What if we position this project strategically? We can articulate to stakeholders that investing in education isn't charity, it's a transformation of our business culture. Profitability can intertwine with purpose. Waves of support began to ripple through the boardroom, and Emily recognized that this was more than just an affirmation of her ideas, it was validation of her growth. Here she was, standing side by side with seasoned executives, advocating for a vision that transcended corporate walls. The conversation flourished, and Emily felt her heart swell with pride amid the dialogue that encircled her. They began strategizing actionable items, discussing potential partnerships with schools, local artist collectives, and educational nonprofits. Every idea that passed through the air grew wings, fueled by a sense of shared purpose. In that moment, each board member became a collaborator, not merely a judge. As she navigated the discussion with confidence, the earlier atmosphere of hostility transformed into camaraderie. They began to flesh out timelines, mapping out phases where community involvement dovetailed with measurable success. Later, as Emily stepped outside the boardroom, the sunlight greeted her like a long-lost friend, breaking through the emotional clouds that had once suffocated her. She had gone from being a daughter holding on to her mother's dreams to a force within a corporate structure, shaping a narrative that intertwined passion and profitability. When she sat at her desk later that evening, the weight of her renewed purpose settled comfortably in her chest. She did not just conquer the boardroom, she dismantled the barriers within herself, dissolving lingering fears and doubts, superseding the nostalgia of loss with vibrant visions of change. With tangible plans forming and support cascading around her, Emily felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Her mother's dream was no longer a whisper in the shadows, it had morphed into a tangible initiative ready to ignite change. She had harnessed her unique blend of passion and pragmatism, transforming obstacles into stepping stones. As the weeks unfolded, Emily's project began to take shape. Surveys welcomed the children's laughter as they participated in workshops, and community stories emerged, each one flowered with the vibrancy of possibility. Letters of support from potential partners flew back to her like homing pigeons, each expressing excitement at the vision she had crafted with courage and authenticity. Jack and Emily walked into the boardroom for their final presentation, applause echoing behind them. As they laid out their communal vision to cultivate a sustainable, impactful scholarship initiative, Emily realized the true weight of her journey. This wasn't just the fulfillment of her mother's wish, it was the essence of her own transformation. She had emerged from uncertainty into a solid position of recognized competence, embodying the characteristics of a leader ready to shape her surroundings. Jack turned to her with proud eyes, both of them knowing they had each conquered doubts, fears, and expectations that once seemed insurmountable. She could feel the anticipation of change radiating in the air. Emily had proven to herself that she could navigate familiar terrains while daring to challenge the status quo. This was her moment of triumph. She had turned an emotional plea into action, a dream into impact. As they opened themselves to questions from the board, Emily's heart swelled with gratitude. She realized she had stitched together the fabric of her mother's dream, the drive of her passion, and the recognition of her capabilities into a compelling narrative of hope and possibility. In this monumental journey, she had not only honored her mother's legacy but also carved a new pathway destined to inspire others. Emily knew now that every challenge had yielded profound growth, a vibrant testament that with conviction, one can redefine their world not just for themselves but for everyone else who dared to dream. And so, as she stood amidst powerful executives ready to embrace the changes ahead, she became a beacon, proving that the most seismic shifts could stem from the heart of a 12-year-old girl who dared to rise. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and theories about the ending.